What's good, everybody, and welcome to an episode of the Emphatic podcast with your host, yours truly. He is I, and I am him. Jai Shields here on this final Friday of the month of April the 25th, the year 2025, and we got a jam-packed, busy show for you here today. NFL draft fallout from that. I'll get to that as quickly as possible. Be in and out because you guys know, for those of y'all that have listened to me for any good period of time, I cannot stand the NFL draft. It just I could write a book on the reasons why and how I despise the 2025 NFL draft in particular and the NFL draft event as a whole. NBA playoffs, more importantly, we'll get to that as the show progresses, in some baseball as promised, not just related to the Orioles, but we'll get to the Orioles and their disastrous series against the Washington Nationals. But we'll talk about the Philadelphia Phillies, get into the Mets, talk about the Chicago Cubs, give them some love. It's going to be a good, busy show for you here to kick off your weekend. Let me start with this, okay? And if you want someone to give draft grades and is Jaxson Dart going to be the quarterback that's going to change the tide of the Giants franchise and break down Cam Ward's tape? You got the wrong podcast. There is a litany of podcasts, video and audio, and anything in between on YouTube alone that you can find. So if you want me to, break down the tape of, Ashton Genty and how he's going to provide a nice, how he's going to help the Vegas Raiders, I nearly call them Oakland, the Vegas Raiders on second and short in the middle of the field at their own 45-yard line against the Denver Broncos this October, you have the wrong show. Some things I took from the draft that I got to get off my chest. Okay? First thing, can everybody out there, and I got I don't know if you can see it, but, oh, yeah, you can see it, duh. I got my Nike Joe Burrow t-shirt on today, and I actually have my curls are showing my scalp for some weird reason. I got no hat on, give a chance to show off my haircut that I got earlier this week, so a little bit of a nice change of pace, if you will, for yours truly. But let me start with this, okay? People going to have to get the hell over the fact that Shedeur Sanders, the quarterback formerly of the Colorado Buffaloes, people just going to have to get over the fact that he was not drafted last night, that he's not a first-round NFL draft pick. People are going to have to get the hell over it, okay? A few things. First off, it's not about race, okay? The first pick in the draft the last 2 years have been black. Caleb Williams this year, Cam Ward. The first overall pick in this year's draft is black. So the idea that Shedeur Sanders is getting blackballed because of his race is erroneous. As erroneous and as dumb as it gets. And the idea that he's getting blackballed because he's a confident, borderline arrogant black athlete, black quarterback is also a preposterous notion, because we saw Cam Newton get drafted. We've seen a litany of, Caleb Williams wasn't exactly the strong and silent type QB at USC. For those of y'all that got a faulty selective outrage swayed type of memory. So the idea that Shedeur Sanders is getting blackballed, this is not one of those instances where you have a quarterback in the National Football League in the 60s or the 70s where he, or even up to the 80s through the 90s, where he does not get taken seriously and he gets passed up on because they say, well, how the hell can a black individual be the starting quarterback of a game? I mean, come on. We just came off of a Super Bowl in which we saw two starting quarterbacks that were black, as much as Patrick Mahomes tries to deny it with his goofy-ass commentary on why he cut his hair. That's neither here nor there. A different conversation, different rant for a different show. But we just came off of a Super Bowl in which we had two black starting quarterbacks in Jalen Hurts and in Patrick Mahomes. We had an NFC Championship game in which we got two quarterbacks who are unapologetically as black as they come in Jalen Hurts and Jaden Daniels. So, I mean, can we stop this? Can we stop this? It's just it's not about if you want to say it's about who his father is and the whole nepotism thing, a la Bronny and LeBron James, I can listen to you. But it's not a race thing. It's not. Certain things in the National Football League does boil down to race. The lack of black offensive coordinators being hired. Jim Caldwell, a la Eric Bieniemy. I mean, we can quibble about how good of a coach Eric Bieniemy was essentially, especially once he left Kansas City to go to Washington. But it's like once you fail, I mean, that's it. He's got to go to the college game. We talk about the lack of black NFL head coaches all the time. I mean, Marvin Lewis, is he Mike Tomlin? Is Marvin Lewis, and some Steelers fans sarcastically say yes to that question, but is he Vince Lombardi, Bill Belichick? No. I mean, there's no reason why in the last – would he get fired after the 2018 season? It's been 2019, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. I mean, it's been 7 head coaching off-season cycles have transpired since, and he's yet to get an NFL coaching job, when a lot of teams could benefit from Marvin Lewis in terms of having a professional in the room that's going to change the tide of a team's culture, that's going to bring them to respectability, that's going to at least get their foot in the door in terms of making the playoffs. Something that, quite frankly, the Giants need, something, quite frankly, that the Jets need. Now, they hired Aaron Glenn, who's a black coach, but you get where I'm coming from. We can be here all day and night going through the episodes of racism, bigotry, and any race-related prejudices that occur within the NFL environment, obviously historically and certainly in the 21st century in 2025. But this incident with, you can't even really call it an incident, but this occasion with Shedeur Sanders not being a first-round overall draft pick is not one of those instances. I'm sorry, it's not. And it's not the fact that I'm being a hater, but he's not the greatest college quarterback that we've ever seen entering the draft. This is not Dan Marino, John Elway circa 1983, okay? He is an average quarterback at best. Doesn't mean that he's not going to make it as a pro. Doesn't mean that he's a bona fide scrub. No one, just because he did not go in the first round, he did not get his name called first round with everybody there, when everyone's going to be watching and waited with bated breath watching the NFL draft for 4.5 hours, just because he did not get his name called in that specific arena that comes with the first night of the NFL draft does not mean he is going to become Jamarcus Russell or Achilles Smith. He's not going to be one of those guys, predetermined or when he eventually gets drafted by a team between tonight and tomorrow afternoon. One has nothing to do with the other. We've been here all day. How many years have we sat here and have seen these quarterbacks that fall to the second, third round? Brady, there is a laundry list of NFL quarterbacks that do not get picked on the first night of the draft that go on to put together respectable NFL careers. Okay? Russell Wilson was not a day one draft pick. Russell Wilson not a day one draft pick. The same applies for Tom Brady. I mean, we'd be here all day and night going through the laundry list. So just because he did not get picked the first night doesn't mean that all of a sudden his NFL career is going to go up in smoke. So he has to wait an extra 24 hours to hear his name called. Big deal. Big deal. He's going to make it into the National Football League. Him graduating to that next level is not up for discussion. So he has to wait an extra 24 hours. He'll live. The world will not cease to exist, and the NFL football sports landscape will not go up in smoke because Shedeur Sanders had to wait another 24 hours to hear his name called. And it's not like that he made the sojourn to Green Bay, Wisconsin, so he's got to stay there in that small northern town freezing his ass off for an extra 24 hours just so he can walk across stage. He didn't even show up to the draft. It was predetermined that he wasn't going to show up to the draft. Stayed home. Please. You can find many instances in the National Football League where it's about a player's race and the confidence. This is not one of those cases. And if you've watched the NFL draft the last handful of years, trust me, especially with my generation, there is absolutely zero shortage of braggadocious, borderline pompous, and arrogant, walking highlight reel, inner celebrity black NFL talents that come out of college into the National Football League, especially my generation. There's no shortage of them. They're the biggest. You will find no shortage of NFL prospects that are the biggest fan of themselves. That's, all about me. Look at me. I'm the shit. I'm the greatest thing since life. You will find zero, absolutely zero shortage of those guys that have been drafted from the turn of the decade in 2020. You won't find a shortage of them. So the idea that Shedeur Sanders is going through, James Crow Esquire by waiting an extra 24 hours is absolutely preposterous. He's an average in terms of what the quote unquote experts say and the measurables and everything else. He is an average quarterback at best. Average. So he's dealt a tray of adversity and a tray of motivation that if he's any good, he'll use it to elevate him and go on to the next level. But my God, man, can we take it easy? And another thing, too, I'm tired of, too. Can we stop comparing him to Lamar Jackson 2018? First off, Lamar Jackson was a first-round pick in 2018, if you remember correctly. He wasn't going to be a first-round draft pick until Ozzie Newsome, his final first-round draft choice he ever made as the Ravens GM executive in their front office, until he picked up the phone, called Howie Roseman, who currently had the 32nd pick in a draft that year, if you remember correctly, because they had won the Super Bowl the season before in 2017, so they had the last pick in the draft that spring. He called Howie Roseman and said, "Hey, you plan on doing anything with the 32nd final pick of the first round?" No, cool. So they traded to the 32nd pick to grab him. Otherwise, he would have dropped into the second round, but he didn't. So he's a first-round draft pick, something that Shedeur Sanders obviously is not. And by the way, and I get it, you could give me the Johnny Unitas Award and the Big 12 accomplishments and everything else. I must have missed where Shedeur Sanders racked up an All-American. Where's his All-American? Where's his Heisman? Lamar Jackson has that on his college resume. Shedeur Sanders does not. That's the first thing. Second thing, if you've watched Shedeur Sanders play, who in the world, especially, and these are not teams that are championship ready, and the teams that are championship ready have quarterbacks and have more complete rosters. What NFL team, after we saw Caleb Williams get his teeth kicked in last year's rookie with the Chicago Bears, after we are still seeing Joe Burrow get his teeth kicked in behind the Bengals offensive line, and it's been 5 years since he was drafted, and we watched his first 2 seasons in the National Football League, and his rookie got cut short because he tore his ACL because his offensive line was so bad. We see C.J. Stroud, his second year in the National Football League, get his teeth kicked in and have his ass ripped a new one because of how pathetic and egregiously ineffective his offensive line is. With the Giants, the same thing. The Jets with Zach Wilson and elder Aaron Rodgers. I mean, the definition of insanity is doing the same damn thing over and over again and expect different results. So if you're an NFL team that has a top first-round draft pick that's in need of a quarterback, but your offensive line is shit, why in the hell are you going to pick a quarterback that really doesn't wow you in terms of his intangibles with his arm talent, his arm strength? Why would you pick somebody that does not wow you on the tape or by the measurables on paper? Why would you pick him for your first round draft choice as your quarterback when he's coming off of a season in which he was the most sacked quarterback in all of college football last season? He was you people, you Shedeur Sanders Glazers out there, you fanboys, were you all made aware of this information? He was the most sacked quarterback in all of college football last year with the 110th slowest time to throw out of 156 quarterbacks. What do we talk about all the time? Can the quarterback get the ball out quick and can they avoid disaster? Caleb Williams went early because of his ability to create plays with his legs. Yes, he held on to the football for X amount of time, but you know what? He wasn't a statue in the pocket. Caleb Williams is an athlete. He gives you that Mahomes. I hate doing the whole comparison shtick, but he has Mahomes-esque tendencies in terms of the fact the play is not over just because he still has the ball in his hand. You've counted past 10 Mississippi, and there's nobody open downfield. In college, USC, he had that ability to keep plays alive with his feet. There was a video game Michael Vick-esque aspect to his game. And I have now. Listen, did I sit down and watch every single Colorado game? No, I saw about a good 80% of their games this season. And then you watch the highlight reels, you watch the tape on the internet and everything else, and then you watch, read, and listen to the pundits, the Mel Kipers of the world, the Charles Davises of the world, and everybody else. You listen to them talk, and I can't recall not one individual that said, "Oh, this guy is Lamar Jackson like the serious ones." Oh, he's Lamar Jackson-like, who know what the hell they're talking about. Lamar Jackson-like, this is reminiscent of the kill. I didn't hear not one person sit there and say, oh, look at how Shedeur Sanders is able to make plays constantly with his feet. Oh, look at how fast of a ball carrier he is in the open field with the ball in his hand, a la Cam Newton, Josh Allen, and Lamar Jackson. I cannot recall reading one piece or hearing a podcast, an interview, a spot on TV. I can't recall not one instance when that was the case. I can't. Not one time can I recall that. Again, sacked most in college football last year and had the 110th slowest time to throw. When you're going into a team that's rebuilding, that more likely than not has a bad offensive line, what's the one thing you can't do? Hold on to the football very long, or else you are going to get sacked. And nobody essentially wants to draft a quarterback that does not wow them off the measurables, off the game tape, whatever the case might be. They're not going to pick a guy that provides zero wow factor, that has no Heisman trophies, no All-Americans, no big-time college football playoff run to speak of. Let's also not forget that either. He never played in any big postseason game of consequence at his time in Colorado. So you factor all that in, plus the fact that he holds on to the football too damn long. Some people say he's a Travis Hunter merchant for the splash plays and the run and the yards after the catch that he provided on the outside. I'm sorry, but y'all going to have to get the hell over it. This is not. You can find many instances where the NFL, in terms of the race relations thing, would raise an eyebrow. This is not one of them. And this is not the NBA where, LeBron James can rule with an iron fist and pull the whole nepotism shtick like he did with Bronny last year. In the NFL, either you can play or you can't. Don't give a shit sometimes, and we might see it next year with Arch Manning, depending on how the 2025 season plays itself out. But most likely than not, in the National Football League, in the game of football, the nepotism shit and who you know and everything, it may get your foot in the door some of the time. But if you can't play, want no parts of you. Want no parts of you. They set up there, the Dolphins and the Jets, they fucked around with Adam Gase at the advisement of Peyton Manning. You ain't seen Adam Gase hold down a job since the Jets about 6 years ago, have you? Yeah, you haven't seen Adam Gase anywhere near an NFL sideline since. Nathaniel Hackett, same thing. They may try it one time just to see, dip their toes in the water to see where they stand. But once they see, this recommendation, this Nepo kid, he ain't worth two nickels rubbed together. Once they see that you ain't worth a damn, white, black, otherwise, that's it. Because in the National Football League, it's about whether you can produce or not. You can coach and win games ad nauseum, or you can't. You can play at the NFL level at a given position, or you can't. No surprise you haven't seen Nathaniel Hackett's name mentioned as a head coaching hire. You haven't heard his name. You haven't heard Adam Gase's name. You haven't heard Joe Judge's name the ties of Belichick and Saban. Same thing applies with Matt Patricia. Either you can produce or you can't. Sometimes, depending on who it is, who you know, it may get your foot in the door, but you better be damn well a heavyweight in order for you to last. Because if you can't hold your own water weight at the recommendation or the nepotism relation of a given last name, and you get in there, you can't produce, the rest of the league will want no parts of you. And I have seen examples. We've seen examples in that specific scenario occur, and just within the last 4 or 5 years alone, we've seen it happen. It's not the NBA with LeBron and Rich Paul and the Clutch Mafia, and with Rob Pelinka and Jeannie Buss that bend to every beck and call made by LeBron James and the Clutch Sports Group. This is not the NBA. This is the National Football League. He'll get picked sometime tonight. We'll live. Rounds 2 and 3 tonight and 4 through 7 on tomorrow. We will live if Shedeur Sanders has to wait an extra 24 hours to hear his name called. My goodness. Guys, it was the most sacked quarterback in the National Football League and towards the bottom of the totem pole in the quickest time to throw. And people are making it sound like that, Johnny Unitas got passed up last night. I mean, you got to be kidding me. Again, this is not Dan Marino, John Elway circa 1983. Can we take it down a notch with Shedeur Sanders, please? Please. And he's not Lamar Jackson either. All-American Heisman Trophy winner in college, was the best player on his team. And that's another thing, too. Was Shedeur Sanders the best player on the Colorado Buffaloes last few years, or was it Travis Hunter? Who actually got drafted last night and has a Heisman sitting in a trophy case? Shedeur Sanders or Travis Hunter? And this is in the age of the quarterback, where if you ask certain people, the quarterback gets a little bit too much love in this day and age of current football. Who unequivocally was the best player on the Colorado Buffaloes last year? Was it Travis Hunter or was it Shedeur Sanders? Who got picked last night? Who was the top 5 pick in the draft? Was it Travis or was it Shedeur? You compare them to Lamar Jackson. Who has the All-American? Who has the Heisman Trophy? Lamar, who was the best player on those Louisville teams, or Shedeur Sanders? Who right now in the National Football League should have won 3 MVPs, has 2 of them, and is one of the more accomplished and decorated regular season NFL quarterbacks we've seen this side of Peyton Manning? Shedeur Sanders, who's done nothing, who still hasn't gotten picked yet, or Lamar Jackson, who's the top 5 quarterback in the National Football League right here, right now? Can we have some objectivity, come up for air, and reset our thinking and our evaluation of this guy? Please, pretty please. This is not to no player hating, no condemnation, but this is getting a little ridiculous. I mean, ESPN, did they forget the fact that Cam Ward went number 1 last night? There was a black quarterback that got picked in the first round, went number 1. His name is Cam Ward. Can we give him some praise and not piss on his parade, as ESPN did, obsessing with Mel Kiper, that jackass, adding Fernando? How dare these teams not use their first round draft pick on Shedeur Sanders? Can we get over that and maybe give a little bit of love to Cam Ward, who actually got drafted last night, who went number 1 in the draft? Spoiling his night, pissing on his parade because we got to have the Shedeur Sanders hype machine for 5 hours on ESPN. And then the Shedeur stands and the Sanders family wonders why there's people out there rooting against them. There's a cause and effect, people. It works both ways. Not saying they're right, but they are justified. And I am so sick and tired of holding these prospects, whether it's Shedeur, Dart, Ward, whoever, I am so Genty. I am so, and this is one reason why I can't stand the NFL draft. And not just the draft itself, those 3 days, but the lead up and then the fallout immediately before and after the fact. I can't take it. Can we let these prospects turn into the best version, the NFL version of themselves, before we put them on a pedestal that they have zero business being on? Just for you stooges out there to be quick to tear them down the first sign of trouble. Can we stop with this, please? Holding these guys to these ridiculous standards that they have no business being held up to. Putting them on these pedestals they have no business being on. Being compared to these elite current NFL players that they have zero business being compared to. And when you do that, it's disrespect for the two people. One, the player they're comparing him to, because here's a player, bust the ass, put the necessary work in, made the sacrifices, has XYZ amount of accomplishments and statistics and maybe championships, Super Bowl MVPs if you're the Jalen Hurts, Patrick Mahomes of the world next to their name. And then all of a sudden, they're, 5, 6, 7, 8 years into the National Football League, just getting started, just about to enter their prime of their career, if not in the midst of it already at a young age. And then all of a sudden, they got to hear some stooge on television sitting about some whippersnapper is going to be the next Patrick Mahomes, a la Zach Wilson. I mean, really? Shedeur Sanders is the next Lamar Jackson. This is Lamar Jackson 2.0. Shove it, please. It's insulting to the current NFL player that's actually established themselves and proven something at this level. They haven't. They have. It's insulting to them, and it's insulting to us as fans, because we sit down, we watch the games, and we know chocolate mousse from chocolate pudding. I can't stand it. They hold them up and they build them up to these ridiculous standards and pedestalize them to such an erroneous, egregious, and obnoxious rate. And then they kick and scream and they bitch and moan come mid-October when life in the National Football League is knocking them upside the head. And if it keeps on knocking them upside the head, there'll be Johnny on the spot to tear them and rip them back down again. I can't stand that part about my business. I hate it. Absolutely hate it. And nobody has a damn clue in the world how good a given draftee is going to be at the NFL level. People thought Trenton Richardson was going to be a great Hall of Fame-esque NFL running back. How the hell did that turn out? Skip Bayless thought Johnny Manziel was going to be bigger than Cleveland and LeBron James. I mean, what are we doing? Have we not learned our lessons of insanity by now at this point? Have we not? My goodness, nobody has a clue. I don't know. The damn teams don't even know. Ownership, head coach, the coordinators, the position coaches, the GM, the assistant GM, the head director of scouting. Nobody knows. The damn teams don't know. How the hell do you think you know? Sitting there in your basement watching tape all hours of the day. Engaging in your little Reddit thread conversations. Stop. Nobody knows. You can sit there and say, oh, well, because of the position that they play and the high production, you can draw a conclusion when you take a look at a player's given position, their production, high production level, low production level, moderate production level at that said position, and then compare it to the production level of a given position in which the team that drafted them and how it played itself out in 24 and in the previous seasons ahead. You can do Y plus X equals ... You can play that game, but the whole draft grade stuff and this is the win still of the draft. What a move! Oh, what a slam dunk! Anything. I mean, come on. I literally this morning went on Instagram and could find videos of Bills fans beside themselves when they drafted Josh Allen. Come on. Like, it's like, what are we doing? What are we doing? We could still find tape, TV tape, podcast tape that doesn't even have a millimeter of dust on it from the collection of people that called the Bengals everything but a child of God for drafting Jamar Chase with the 5th pick in the draft. And me being one of them, because I wasn't necessarily at the moment immediately in love with the decision. Immediately, I was not in love with drafting a wide receiver when I saw my rookie quarterback season get cut literally in half via a torn ACL because his offensive line was a collection of turnstiles. So me being the one included, I raised my hand. But you can find a laundry list of others that basically thought that the Bengals committed football malpractice. It was the worst draft pick in the history of the NFL draft. And what happened? Jamar Chase went out there and he had one of the greatest rookie wide receiver seasons of all time. And the team went to the damn Super Bowl. So nobody knows anything. Now, in terms of a few things, in terms of takeaways with the draft, and the 2 big-time stories, really, to take away from it. Bengals got an edge rush from Texas A&M. Barely played. A lot of people I've read pin that blame more so on the ineptitude of Texas A&M coaching staff, more so than any mistake of the player himself. I don't know. New defensive coaching staff, Al Golden. They brought it. They totally revamped the defensive coaching staff side and that coaching staff side of the football. You're going to have to cross your fingers, hit your knees, say a prayer, and hopefully they hit a home run. Now, I understand that the narrative has been said that the Bengals have a tendency to go towards more so projects rather than the elite NFL-ready guys. It maybe didn't necessarily work with Lou Anarumo and his particular system and his scheme and how he likes to coach up defensive players on that given particular side of the football, especially if it's those guys that's in charge of getting after the quarterback or the secondary, and then work with him. Maybe it'll work with Al Golden. Zach Taylor gets off his ass and revamps the way the team does training camp. Maybe things will be different. Again, I don't know. I'm not gonna if I know I'm gonna freak out about something, if it blows up in the team's face, what good is it losing my mind now in April when he hasn't set foot on the field yet, rather than let sleeping dogs lie, not get erratic, be cautiously optimistic, let the offseason play itself out, let him get acclimated with the team and with the city first, go through the rookie camp and the OTAs and everything else, training camp, let me see him playing some preseason games, and the first essentially month of the regular season, then I'll make my assessment. Which, in fairness, is what is the same mindset and philosophy that I had when we drafted Jamar Chase. Myself personally, I wouldn't have made the selection at 5 to get a wide receiver, but I said I was going to reserve my judgment and let the season play itself out, and it turned out it was one of the greatest draft choices in the history of the Cincinnati Bengals franchise, and one that has changed the trajectory of this franchise arguably forever, at least for now, in the span of these last, 5 seasons there or so? And up until the end of Chase's contract, so you might as well say at least at the bare bones minimum the next decade. So again, we don't know. We don't know. They didn't get cute and sit up there and say, let's draft a shiny skill position player. No, they went out there and they drafted defense. That's what the Bengals still need: defense and depth within their offensive line. Defense and O-line, the way to go. Those are the 2 things that win you championships. Strong offensive line play and a dominant, suffocating defense, as we saw from the 24 Philadelphia Eagles, 2 months ago, going on 3. So I can only deal with one inept franchise that inept favorite team of mine. I can only deal with one at a time this time of the year. The Orioles with Elias and Hyde. It's as one and two parties, inept parties, too many. Let me deal with them first before I sit up there and go crazy over a Bengals move made on April the 24th. I mean, come on. They don't play games. They don't play a game of any consequence for another 3.5 months or not. Well, no. What 4 plus 3? Not even for another 4.5 5 months. I mean, what are we doing? So, but the stories of the draft were Jacksonville trading up to get Travis Hunter, and the Giants trading back into the first round to get Jaxson Dart. Do the Giants point about the football Giants first? I don't hate it in terms of it fills a need. Now it does look a little chaotic on the outside that the football Giants have essentially 4 quarterbacks on their depth chart. Now I get it; it's April, not August, but they have Jameis Winston. They got 2 veteran guys in Jameis Winston and Russ Wilson who are larger than life personalities in relation to the players that's on that football team. Number one. They have those 2 guys. They have Mr. Viral Gabagool over here, Tommy Cutlets on the roster. That's the 3rd quarterback. And then the 4th is Jaxson Dart out of Mississippi. Now, some people making a big deal. In fact, they're concerned about his cadence, that he sits back in shotgun and pistol and he claps. I just think that's just the nature of how the college game is, where it's not as quarterback centric as we see some offenses in the NFL are. So I don't really quibble. I wouldn't quibble about that too much. I just look at it from a standpoint, at least with the Giants, because eventually you've been through so many 9 miles of bad road outside of the 2022 season that you're bound to have something positive happen to you. And you haven't had many of those moments since Super Bowl 46 in Indianapolis against the Patriots in February of 2012. So eventually the slope has got to go up to the heavens at some point. And I look at it from the perspective of Brian Daboll finally has this quarterback that he can mold, mature, and develop and claim as his own. You don't have to worry about, Daniel Jones and the sins that he had with the previous head coaches and Judge and Shermer and Gettle and having that cloud over the franchise and Gettleman being the one that drafted him. You don't have to worry about that. His quarterback, his choice, his guy. Now the buck stops with Daboll. Now he can't make that. If he turns out to be another one that bites the dust, a la Daniel Jones, he's finished. Either if that doesn't kill him, the Giants going 2-15. If there's no long-term game plan in sight, they go 2-15 with Russell Wilson, and they're out of it by November, and they don't even let Jaxson Dart see the field. That'll be the end of Brian Daboll. If not, then again, the time for the Giants is to see what you have. Let him. And I am of the belief too, and it's not just with Jaxson Dart. This is the way I am with these young quarterbacks in general, especially with the quarterbacks that are brought into teams that aren't great, that still have even though they may have the quarterback, there's still a bit of a ways to go until they enter a forget championship, a playoff contending window. The New York Football Giants are certainly one of those teams. So, and you're not so much of a dire franchise where you're desperately needing to start your first round quarterback draft choice because you need something for your fans to watch and cheer about. You're not, and you don't fall under that umbrella. You don't. The Tennessee Titans kind of sort of fall under that umbrella. You don't fall under that umbrella. You're a team that still needs to continue to build the offensive line. Your defense should be better heading into 2025. And you're at the point where you can ill afford to essentially lose a half of a season or a whole season of your starting quarterback because you want to throw them out there into the deep end, especially in that division. If the Giants were in the NFC South, it'd be a different story. They're in or even the NFC West to a lesser extent. You're in the NFC East. What good are you going to do having your young rookie quarterback beat his head up against the wall when they have to play that vaunted Eagles defense who are the defending Super Bowl champ? What good does it do you beating your head up against the wall against two teams that made the championship Sunday last season, one of whom ended up winning the Super Bowl, that's going to enter the season with a top 5, top 3 best defense in the league, coming off of a season which they had a top 5, top 3 best defense in the national. Like, what is there to gain from that? You're not a better football team with Dart on. It makes no difference whether Dart's on the field or off it. You're not beating the Philadelphia Eagles in 2025 unless something ridiculously were to happen prior to a given meeting. So why put yourself in harm's way if you don't have to? So to put together a nice little highlight reel between him and Malik Neighbors, I mean, please, you got to see the forest through the trees. And the forest through the trees is not immediately starting Jaxson Dart. Now, if, Russell Wilson and or Jameis Winston, they go out there, they don't look as great as they should, and the Giants are, another boring, cathartic disaster that's in need of a jolt, in need of a shock just for sheer entertainment value alone, if nothing else to possibly save Dable's job and Shane's job, then yeah, throw them in there, week 8, week 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, whatever the case might be. But to start to start the year, to start 2025, I would not play him immediately because there's nothing to gain from that. God forbid a catastrophic injury, he's gone for the season, and it's even though he's on your roster, you're right back at square one looking at Jameis Winston and Russell Wilson as your starting quarterback in 2025. If you want to play him sometime later on in the season, depending on how your season plays out, I'm all for it. But to start 2025, he should stay on the bench unless something catastrophic happens to any of those other 3 quarterbacks on the depth chart. That's just the way I see it, because there's nothing to gain by throwing him out there into the deep end of the pool the first month of the season when you know good and hell well you're not going to sniff playoff contention. There's when you have a faulty offensive line, it's just going to be there to get teeth kicked in. And God forbid they have games against Philadelphia and or Washington to start the year, you'll be setting them up for failure right from the opening get-go. There is no need. No need. Let them sit back, mature, develop, and then meet at around whenever, if you have a bye weekend and like during the literal middle of the season between week 8 and week 9, 10, 11, maybe 12, then see where things shake up. But I will not start them now. But the Giants, they got their quarterback. They have been in need for a franchise quarterback that can call their own, that on paper looks competent for literally eons. You can't count Daniel Jones. Gettleman reached to draft him in 2019. You've been yearning for that for the longest time. Now you finally have it. And you went out there and you bolstered your defense with your original first-round draft selection earlier in the night. And that's what the Giants walked out of there doing what needed to be done. Continue to build your defense, and if an opportunity presented itself for you to grab your potential, fingers crossed, franchise quarterback, you capitalize. So the Giants, in theory, had a nice night last night. Now it's just up for, Dable being able to coach him up, Dart executing once he sees the field, and it's on Shane's plate to put together a better, at least more watchable and competitive football team in 2025, continuing to build a defense, continue to build the offensive line, and maybe if you get lucky later, whether it's tonight or Saturday, another weapon or two wouldn't hurt, to mature under the tutelage of the coaching staff as well for Dart to throw to in 2020. I'm not thinking about 2025. I'm thinking about 26, 27, 28. Because albeit this process with the Giants is going to take some time. It's not like baseball where it needs to take 3 to 5 years. Eventually, the Giants. I understand that they're a ways away from this moment within their organizational timeline, but eventually the Giants got to start, becoming a competent football team that's going to stack wins on a regular again. Eventually, 2025. I don't think it's going to be that year, but 2026 and beyond, eventually we got to get the wheels turning on this thing. Eventually. And Jacksonville trading up for Travis Hunter. Listen, it's a risky move because if Travis Hunter becomes a bust on one side of the field, whether it be a wide receiver or as a DB, they're going to catch flack for it because of the capital they gave up to move into that position. If it works out, it works out. But even if Travis Hunter is able to carry his dominance from Boulder to Jacksonville, if Trevor Lawrence is not going to be the guy and finally graduate and take that next step in 2025, what difference does it make? They've brought in a decent amount of talent in free agency the last few years, and it's done and changed coaches, and it's done nothing for him because Trevor Lawrence has had an underwhelming start to his young NFL career and doesn't look like he is going to be the guy as advertised coming out of Clemson. So that's one of those things where if it works out great, it still won't automatically lead to W's if the quarterback in Lawrence doesn't carry his weight coming up this fall in 25. But, in Cleveland, who knows? Who knows? Yeah, I've heard rumors they were going to draft Travis Hunter. They didn't. If you think about the Cleveland Browns and their front office and how they do things too long, your brain is going to explode. That's how I think about it with that football team. But anyway, those are your takeaways from the draft. It's just I can't take just the over analyzation and the sensationalism behind analyzing and reacting of every single pick and every single he's just a guy. It's like, shut the hell up. You don't know jack diddly squat. Please. It's enough of Mel Kiper's word being the gospel when it comes to this stuff. So what? He's been on television for 40 years. I could care frickin' if he was that good. Some team would have hired him as a GM, and he would have been, football. He would have been the next. I forget the name of the GM of the Steelers of the 70s, but he'd have been football's next Frank Cashin if he was that damn good. I mean, cut me a frickin' break, please. Who the hell is Mel Kiper? Tired of it. Absolutely. He spent so much time waxing poetic and verbally providing fellatio to Shedeur Sanders on draft night on Thursday. I mean, did we forget on any of the other players whose dreams came true that night? Did we forget about Cam Ward, who actually went first overall on Thursday? Sickening stuff, man. So it's the Dion and Shedeur propaganda machine, and then people scratch their heads and wonder why people are low-key or high-key rooting for Shedeur to fail, that are throwing sombreros to the sky that he didn't get picked last night because of goofy foolishness like this. That's why. Now, in terms of the NBA, actually talking about the games and not machinations and war rooms and mock drafts and all that other foolishness. Switching gears to the NBA playoffs. The Knicks. Now, heading into game 3, we talked about on Monday how you anticipated the energy level and the sense of urgency for the Detroit Pistons was going to be at an all-time high, so making sure that they at least got one game out of 2 from the first 2 games over at MSG, and we saw that on Monday night. Cade Cunningham has made tremendous strides as a young NBA player, but really the things to take away from the Knicks, not to spend too much time on their game 2 win, this is going to be more about game 3, but how they played in game 2 on Monday night. They were not good defensively. Offensively, they were very, very, very stagnant. Played a lot of iso ball, and if you've seen the Knicks and how they play and what has been the method to their madness and them being a very good offensive team throughout the course of this year, is that they do a good job when they're on their game. They know how to spread the wealth. Brunson being a solid facilitator, making sure that Mikal Bridges gets his touches and he puts up his numbers, making sure that Karl-Anthony Towns puts up his numbers. He doing a good job getting everybody involved. Brunson, Bridges, Cat, OG, making sure all five guys out there on the court are touching the ball equal amount of times and are getting their 20, their 22, 21, 27 points a game. And what the Knicks fell victim to on Monday night is that, okay, Piston, they got the intensity up, they're scoring, getting production. We got to find a way to make sure we keep up with that. And what sometimes they have a tendency to do is that, and I don't know whether it's a thing that's spoken to Brunson and the crew via the coaching staff led by Thibodeau, or if it's Brunson letting the pressure of MSG, the playoffs, the Pistons being the young whippersnapper team, the quote-unquote the little underdog train that could, this talk of him going down prematurely, I would think, with these arguments that you heard, especially a lot during last year's postseason run, him going down as one of the greater Knicks of all time, post Patrick Ewing or post, the early 70s Knicks, so to speak. And it kind of goes to his head. It's like, oh, well, shit, I'm one of the better Knicks in the history of the franchise. I got to step up and level up my play to accommodate such and put the team on my back in order for us to win games on a game-in, game-out basis. And it's almost as if that pressure either went to his head or he put too much pressure on himself. And as a result, they fell into the trap while trying to chase Detroit on Monday night of playing iso ball. So it's the four players. You just stand there, do nothing, and it's 1v5 with Jalen Brunson with the ball in his hand, dribbling up the court, running down the shot clock, pounding the ball constantly, boom, ba-boom, 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 ba-boom. And what happens when that's not your offensive game plan and your offensive identity, what happens? You're going to crumble. And what happened with the Knicks in game 2 on Monday night, they walked away with 94 points. So Karl-Anthony Towns, big man, he's more of a finesse big man more so than he is elbow grease, high elbows, blue collar type of big man, a la Nikola Jokic, where he's not afraid to get scratched, get clawed, and do the dirty work. That's not Cat's game. But we obviously talked about how Karl-Anthony Towns touched the ball a tremendous amount in the first. We didn't talk about it, we being me, but a lot of Knicks fans and a lot of basketball commentators and prognosticators alike talked about how Karl-Anthony Towns touched the basketball, was able to see the ball down in the low post a lot in the first half. Second half completely disappeared, and whether to blame Brunson for running iso ball being the reason why, or blaming Tom Thibodeau for not drawing up more plays in the timeouts in the dead periods of time to make sure that Karl-Anthony Towns gets the ball so Jalen Brunson doesn't have it as much, take the pressure off of him, and to direct some attention from the Detroit Pistons defensive perspective away from Brunson down low in the post to Karl-Anthony Towns. Throw in the fact that Mikal Bridges had opportunities to make big shots late in the fourth quarter and he came up small. So you factor in all of that coming from their game 2 defeat at MSG on Monday, and you go back to last night's game, the first game at the Little Caesars Arena in Detroit, and it was the complete antithesis offensively from the Knicks as we saw in game 2. Obviously, Jalen Brunson was very, very clutch. You saw that he walked away with most clutch player of the year within a span of the last 24 to 48 hours. 9 of 20, scored 30 points. Was absolutely remarkable. Great facilitating job running the point, and obviously was able to get his points, got to the line, and was able to execute his free throws there as well. Karl-Anthony Towns, a tremendous bounce-back performance from he. 10 of 18 from the field, made 4 threes, shot 50% from three, walked away with 31 points. OG Anunoby, 7 of 17, got 22 points on the night. Mikal Bridges shot 50% from the field, 50% from three, walked through at 20, 22, 31, and 30 is what you got from the Knicks from their starting five last night. Recipe for success 9 times out of 10 in the NBA playoffs, especially on the road. So offense was complete 180. Brunson and Tibbs did a good job game planning, and as the game played itself out on the fly, did a tremendous job getting everybody involved, getting Karl-Anthony. Now, a lot of it has to do with the fact that the shots they took last night fell compared to the ones that did in game two. Law of averages, I understand, luck plays a part. Law of averages plays a part into it. Don't get me wrong. But in terms of the rhythm and the flow and the offensive game plan and identity of the New York Knicks was a complete 180 from what we saw on Monday night, and they did a sensational job of spreading the wealth. They knocked down their shots, better shot selection, and just the level of execution, focus, and attention to detail offensively from the Knicks was a lot better in Game 3 compared to what it was back on Game 2 Monday night. So we have the Knicks up 2-1. It's essentially, best 2 out of 3 from here on out. Games 4 and 5 guaranteed. The Pistons have to win one more game to force that bare bones minimum, a Game 6. And Jalen Brunson must have heard the critics, Knick fans calling up talk shows, read the Twitter commentary, because he was magnificently clutch in their nail-biting performance against the Detroit Pistons on Thursday night. Pistons, and Knicks is game number 1. Game number 2, the Nuggets and the LA Clippers. Listen, the Denver Nuggets were just they were so pathetic defensively. It was downright embarrassing. And listen, we praise Nikola Jokic, him being one of the better big men in the NBA today, and him being a tremendous offensive talent, and just how transcendent he is at the center position. But let's call it like we see it. This guy, when he goes up against a team that can score, that's got multiple playmakers with the basketball in the hand, he gets exposed to being an absolute complete defensive liability. He was completely lost on the open floor on multiple occasions during the sequence of last night's game, whether it's poor communication and switching and backloading when help is there, and going back to his original man down in the low post, whether it's just standing in the middle of nowhere guarding air while an open Clipper gets open, finds a wide open shot that they could make with their eyes closed. They get so wide open. Jokic guarding air and allowing a LA Clipper to get wide open space beyond the perimeter to get an open look for three, which they knocked down plenty of last night. Whatever the case might be, not standing in the spaces, getting in the gaps with your hands up ready to guard. They just put, it wasn't just Jokic, but he's the best player on the team, and he was not good defensively at all for the Nuggets last night, among many of other Denver Nugget players during the sequence of last night's humbling defeat. Defensively, the Denver Nuggets were without a clue in the world last night, and that's just completely unacceptable. They let the LA Clippers shoot 48% from three, 46% from three, 48% collectively together as a team from the field. They out-rebounded them by 10. They absolutely destroyed them in the paint with 42 points in the paint out of their 117. They outscored them on fast break and transition, 13 points to 13. I mean, we got Russell Westbrook backpedaling instead of sprinting back on the other end of the floor with his hands up back towards baseline ready to guard. We're backpedaling. We're lazy in transition. Nikola Jokic taking a sweet time getting back and forth. I mean, when as great as he is offensively, again, they go up against a team that has some firepower there in the backcourt, especially and on the opposite side of the floor, highlighted by obviously James Harden, who had a tremendous game with 20 points, 6 of 14 from the field, and Kawhi Leonard, who's had a phenomenal series, returning back to his 2019 form, if you can believe. They go up against teams that have shooters to the likes of and prolific scorers to the likes of Harden and Kawhi Leonard. Nikola Jokic and the Denver Nuggets are going to get exposed each and every single time. A defensive disaster class from the Denver Nuggets last night. And as for the Clippers, listen, I think they have the advantage in this series. They have a much better roster. Even though Jokic is the best player on the floor, they do have the better starting five, one through five, head-to-head collectively. Leonard, Zubac, who is an underrated center. We know Jokic is one of the best, but he is one of the more underrated centers in the game. Racked up 9 rebounds, scored 19 points, 8 of 12 on his shots on the night last night. Zubac is an underrated offensive player. We all know in the regular season how great James Harden has been collectively throughout his NBA career, and he also, in fairness, has had his moments of within individual games, not necessarily throughout an entire series, but within individual games. James Harden has not been shy to light up the scoreboard with his sensational offensive play. And then obviously Kawhi Leonard, when he's healthy, is the top 5 best player in the National Basketball Association, bar none. And then on top of the fact, the coaching mismatch with Tyronn Lue, who's an NBA champion, going up against the interim for the Denver Nuggets. So it's been a hell of a series. It's been a hell of a series, with this game being the worst one, obviously, of the first 3 that's been played. Clippers up 2-1. Let's not forget that they are also looking to if they do end up going 3-1 up on Denver, they're looking to exercise those demons from obviously back in the bubble 5 years ago, if they're fortunate to walk away with a Game 4 victory coming up this weekend. But this has been an interesting series, and we saw Nikola Jokic melt down and yell and scream and kick and bitch and moan at his teammates. It's almost about panic time if you're the Denver Nuggets. Straighten up or fly right, or you'll be gone in 5 games. There won't be no 3-1 comeback this time. If this basketball team does not get their asses in gear quick, fast, and in a hurry. The Grizzlies choking their 29-point lead last night. Now, I got lost in the shuffle because it was the Grizzlies, because it was the same night as the NBA draft, and also because of the fact that this series has been a complete unwatchable bore from the very get-go. It's 2 schools of thought to analyze the Grizzlies' collapse. You can chalk it up to saying, John Morant went out with the hip pointer injury. They were never the same. You take away their best player off the floor when they're an 8 seed going up against a team that's clearly, even with Ja on the floor, head and shoulders better than them without a shadow of a doubt. What's to make a big deal that they blew a 29-point lead? There's that school of thought, and there's also school of thought where you watch the Grizzlies play, where especially in the second half when you saw them, they put up 18 points in the third quarter and 13 points in the fourth quarter. They dropped 40 in the first, 37 in the second, and then took the rest of the game off. They scored a combined 31. They scored a combined 31 points in the second half alone. That's unacceptable basketball. Unacceptable basketball. And you watched and looked at their shot selection. It was like they said, "Listen, we got game 3 in the bag. They took, you know what they took it as? They took it was one of those games where the inferior team finally breaks through. They get all the breaks in the world. They catch fire. They can't miss. The better team that's losing can't buy a basket. They think, okay, well, they're going to take their lumps, wave the white flag, concede, automatically in the mental Rolodex, push game 3 into the rearview mirror. It's on to game 4. And whatever time is remaining left in this game, we're going to take essentially practice shoot-around shots and have an opportunity to pad their stats. Well, somebody should have told the Memphis Grizzlies this is not a regular season game in the middle of January. This is game 3, first home playoff game for you this go-around. This is game 3 of the NBA playoffs against the best team game 1 through game 2 in the Western Conference, and in some people's eyes, debatably, in the NBA. You can't take whatever remaining time is off. I don't care if you're up 50 and their selection in the second half was so egregious. I mean, it just goes to show you just the immaturity and the lack of focus and intensity, complete, clear-cut, and dry intensity of this basketball team. Because if that ain't a lack of focus and a lack of immaturity from a young, unserious team with their poor shot selection, trying to pad their stats, if that isn't it, I don't know what is. Because in order for you to blow a 29-point lead, not only do you have to be piss poor on the defensive side of the basketball, you also have to help out your opponents in just having not just one, but a collective consecutive string of piss poor offensive possessions where you go minutes at a time without making a bucket. And that's what happened to the Memphis Grizzlies last night. And now they're in a 3-0 hole. They're probably not going to have have Ja for game 4, and it's going to be going in a sweep where they could have at least, gentlemen's sweep, had some pride and gotten a game 5 and gotten a victory last night to force a game 5 and extended this season an extra 48 some odd hours. Now they're going to go down without a whimper, without a fight. No Ja, no win. And good morning, good afternoon, good night, Cancun on 3 or Galveston on 3 based on their pathetic lack of effort. And away we go, and we'll see you in October of 2025. Very, very disappointing stuff from the Memphis Grizzlies. Very disappointing. And Chet Holmgren, I mean, he's all world. All world. 8 of 16 from the field, 50% from 3, walked away with 24 points, 8 rebounds. And Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, I mean, he did take 26 shots, which, granted, when you're down 29 points, it's acceptable, but another 31-point performance. Magnificent. He got 31, Williams with 26, Holmgren with 24. Throwing Alex Caruso, who played an excellent game defensively, had a nice contribution off the bench. 4 of 7 from the field, 10 points, 6 rebounds, and 23 minutes coming off the bench for Oklahoma City. But that game, that performance, the takeaway, the main idea, and the story from that game last night, in my eyes, in my opinion, was more about just the lack of seriousness and the lack of maturity from the Memphis Grizzlies. And listen, I saw some comments that sit up here and said that, that's karma for Ja Morant right before he got injured, him taunting Chet Holmgren on an earlier possession before he got hurt. That's karma for that, and it's karma for the Grizzlies trying to get fans, because some people thought that dunk in that play in which Morant got hurt on, that should have been Scottie Pippen Jr.'s dunk. Instead, he passed it up, went for the fancy pass to John Morant for him to get the dunk to be flashy, kind of, ooh and ah, and, thumb his nose and taunt and throw the water in the face of the Oklahoma City Thunder in that situation, and he ended up paying for it dearly. So, which is not an invalid argument if you want to make that point. I saw a lot of that commentary on the internet when I got up this morning to go back and look at the highlight tape and look at some extra tape in preparation for the show in terms of the defensive breakdown. But I saw a lot of that from the Grizzlies and from the common basketball fan that watched that game last night. That it was karma for Morant taunting Chet Holmgren. It was karma for Pippen passing up just a simple dunk, and trying to be a little bit too flashy, and ended up getting John Morant, who weighs about like 175 pounds soaking wet anyway. He had zero, but he plays the game for a guy that plays the game as reckless as he does, and then he's as skinny as a damn rail, and that's what happens. I hope and pray that he makes a good recovery. But that's what happens when you play reckless and you think that this is Harlem Globetrotter basketball. We haven't done it. Does he still own the West? Is the West still theirs? Whatever was the quote that he said to Malik Andrews, whatever he said, does it still apply to John Morant and the Memphis Grizzlies? Does it still apply? Inquiring minds would like to know. And by the way, if you're Steve Kerr and the Golden State Warriors coming off of their game the other night, and I'm a Steve Kerr guy, I understand he's not beloved by a lot of people around and outside of the world of sports for various reasons. But if you're Steve Kerr, can you maybe not play the soft snowflake card in your post-game press conference after the game when your team got your asses handed to you in your game 2 defeat 109-94 on Wednesday? Could you maybe not play the soft snowflake card after the game with Draymond's got kids, this, that, and start crying a river for Draymond Green when he's getting jeered, and rightfully so, by the Houston Rockets fan base at the Toyota Center the other? Could you not do that? This is Draymond. This is not Steph Curry. This is Draymond Green. It's the same Draymond Green that created a huge fiasco that tanked your season. There's no argument. It ruined your season. The same Draymond Green that felt the need to sucker punch a teammate that ruined the morale in the locker room that season for Golden State, tanked the morale of the locker room, essentially ruined their season before it even got started because that fiasco took place in preseason and training camp. Sucker punched teammate, kicked Steven Adams in the nuts, got himself suspended in a Game 5 that turned that series around against Cleveland in the finals in 2016. This guy has a laundry list the size of Al Capone for the amount of transgressions and the amount of hot water he's gotten himself into with his, I'll call it, edgy behavior on the basketball court to keep it as brisk and as PG as possible. Edgy. For his edgy behavior on the basketball court and his lengthy and notorious NBA career. He now off the court, he might be an angel, but on his basketball player persona on the court, he is no angel. No angel as a teammate with the sucker punch with Jordan Poole, and no angel as an opposition. This guy, I tell you, he wouldn't last 5 seconds if he played 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50 years ago. That's one thing. And you talk to any old head basketball fan that would know, that's a given automatic. But the crap that he has pulled for over a decade, and I gotta hear Steve Kerr will poor Draymond Green. He shouldn't have to hear that. That's classes. That's low life because he's got family. He's got. Hold on now. Jordan Poole's got a family. That we concern ourselves with Jordan Poole's family when he got sucker punched in the middle of a practice? Did we concern ourselves with Steven Adams when he got kicked in the nuts in the Western Conference Finals? Did we concern ourselves with the family of any of the players that Draymond Green has essentially violated and in some cases damn near outright assaulted on the basketball court? Crossing the line from feisty competitive spirit to downright dirty and obnoxious player. Did we concern ourselves with the families of those individuals? No, we did not. So if you're Steve Kerr, I don't want to hear it. I made the tweet in the middle of Thursday, and I regurgitated it here verbally. I got to hear Steve Kerr. He's got a lot of balls, Steve Kerr, to be lecturing people about how to basically coddle and treat Draymond Green when he has has coached Draymond Green, who essentially is the NBA's version of Vontaze Perfect. I mean, really? And if there's any fan base that has the right to kind of, get their little licks in with Draymond Green, it's the Houston Rockets. They had to tolerate his shenanigans in the James Harden era, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years ago. And now they went through a lengthy rebuild where the team wasn't crap. They finally made it back to the promised land. That is the NBA playoffs. Promised land, they made it back to relevancy, I should say, would be the better verbiage and better phrase in this given statement. But they finally made it back to relevancy. They got their lick in. They got their lick back. Series tied at a game apiece. Jimmy Butler's health has the Warriors season currently in peril, who were originally a playing team. You know what? Let them talk. Let them talk. If it's as long as they ain't not calling Draymond Green out of their name, calling him no monkey, no jigaboo, silverback, as long as it doesn't cross that line, I'm all for it. If that means that he's got to get he gets a few middle fingers and a few fuck yous and fuck you Draymond and fuck off Draymond and Draymond's an asshole, you know what? It's the nature of the beast. The way Draymond Green carries himself with his dopey podcasts and the way he carries himself on the basketball court, listen, you hear the tune, sometimes you got to pay the piper. What goes around comes around. And if Draymond Green and Golden State Warriors are not ready to take the medicine that Green has been giving the league for the last 10 plus years, you know what? It's time for Draymond Green to wave sayonara, exit stage left, and say goodnight. Be interesting to see how Golden State responds in Game 3. Very interesting to see how they respond in Game 3 as the series, shifts to Golden State this upcoming weekend, with obviously the health of Jimmy Butler a great concern for the Golden State Warriors. Speaking of Game 3, let's shift gears to the Game 3s headed tonight. Listen, in terms of the Celtics and the Magic, they did not play their best game collectively. If you want to sit up here and quibble, if you want to sit up here and quibble, I won't, because of the fact that they had no Jason Tatum in Game 2. They're up 2-0. What difference does it make, to be quite honest with you anyway? But Jason Tatum, as we take a look and see with his status, obviously I'm looking at video of him right now warming up, taking threes before Game 3, so it looks like he'll be good to go. It was upgraded from doubtful to questionable throughout the course of the day today. We'll see how obviously by the time this podcast comes out, we'll know whether or not he'll be good to go for Game 3 here tonight. But, Celtics up 2-0. I would anticipate them having a nice heightened level of focus, because you figure, especially with Tatum banged up, the quicker you get these series against the small potatoes early in the playoffs, the better off you're going to be, especially if you have any health concerns of the likes of, obviously, Jason Tatum. I anticipate the Celtics coming out the gate hot, fresh, ready to go up 3-0, and have this series put on the back burner by the time we begin the work week coming up here on Monday. Series number 2 between the Pacers and the Bucks. Listen, and this is another thing. Listen, I'm a Damian Lillard fan, as you all well know, but he's got to, again, what goes around comes around. If you hear the tune, sometimes you got to pay the piper, if that's the way you carry yourself as a professional athlete in the 21st century and in 2025. Nobody loves doing the Dame time thing more than he does when he hits a clutch shot, or if it's a jaw-dropping moment in a given sequence of a game that he has played in, whether it's Portland days and obviously here in Milwaukee. Nobody loves doing this more than my guy Dame Dollar. So when Tyrese, Haliburton, and the Indiana Pacers do it because they've done nothing but kicked your ass up and down the court repeatedly, ad infinitum for the last 2 playoff series back to back, you got to be able to take it. You can't, want to go instigate and discrepancies and everything else and play the fox with sour grapes card because you're getting your asses kicked. He's doing your celebration in your face to taunt you, and you can't. And the only thing you can do about it is bitch, moan, and scream because your team's done nothing in this series and did nothing against Indiana. We had a chance to do something about it. You can't say anything. You got to take your lumps as it is. It'll hurt. It'll suck. Humble pie ain't supposed to taste good. If you're Dame Lillard, veteran, in your 30s, been around a little bit, you got to show a little bit better, more emotional maturity than that. You guys know, I'm a Dame Lillard fan. A huge, huge fan of him as a person, as a basketball player, and of his game. But he's got to be a little bit more emotionally mature than that. He's got to be a little bit more emotionally more mature than that. When the team that you've played for has been dog walked by the Pacers in back-to-back spring playoff series, as long as they don't call you out your name or whatever, you gotta just throw your hands up, man. I'm not saying let him do it, but the only way you can do something about it where you'll be taken seriously is take over this series and turn it on its ear. And find a way to win 4 out of these next 4 out of these next 5 games theoretically at the maximum. 4 out of these next 6. That's the only way you're going to be able to shut them up, because you talking crap is going to do nothing but antagonize him more to do it if they eventually send you home, whether it be in Game 4 coming up this weekend or in Game 5 when the series goes back to Indianapolis. But you just bumping off at the mouth, it does nothing. How you shut them up, how you take your celebration back is putting together some W's and making this a series. Until you do that, Dame's just gonna have to live with it. And that's what I would tell any athlete that has a famous celebration that gets rubbed back in their face when themselves personally or collectively their team is having a bad series or is having a bad, you're gonna have to deal with it. The only way you can fix it, the only way you can shut them up, get your lick back, is if you play better. But if you're not gonna play better and your team's gonna go down for the count, you're gonna have to take the humble pie as it is. That's the risk you take by having the notable, famous celebration that everybody and their mother sees under the bright lights. It's the price you pay. Ravens multiple times had to see opponents do the Ray Lewis dance, either in the backfield after a sack, tackle for loss, or in the end zone scoring a touchdown. And the only way they were able to get their lick back is if they came back and they won the game. But in the moment, what you going to do? You got to bite the bullet, remember it in case you bounce back, and you move on. Dame, bite the bullet, remember it in case you come back, you get your lick back then. Until then, shut the hell up, lock in, and make this a series. And that just does not just go for him. That goes for Kyle Kuzma. That goes for, Giannis has played well, granted, so, kind of give him a little bit of a break. But it goes for the rest of his team, highlighted by that failure of a fraud that is Glenn Rivers, who's his head coach. Oh, God help him. My goodness gracious. Anyway, Pacers and Bucks, Game 3 in Milwaukee. And in Game 3, as the Lakers and the Timberwolves head to the Lakers' former home in Minneapolis, Minnesota, where the Timberwolves are trying to get their lick back from an underwhelming performance in Game 2. Listen, they did their job. They got Game 1. They made sure that at the bare bones minimum, the games in LA ended in a split. Now the Timberwolves got to do their job to defend home court. It's a Friday night, end of the work week. Series tied at a game apiece. Fan base is eager to wash the bad taste out of not just their Game 2 loss out of their mouth, but wash the bad taste out of the Western Conference Finals out of their mouth, obviously, with Luka. So they have that angle as well. Look, they are going to be motivated. hot as hell. They got a lot of guys there that love to play with an edge. DiVincenzo loves to play with an edge. Anthony Edwards loves to play with an edge. Have that fuel motivate your fire and have that fuel feed that fire and go out there and put the Lakers in an early hole early and have that crowd be an absolute pain in the ass and work to your benefit instead of allowing Luka and LeBron to come in there and all of a sudden you blink and you find yourself down 12, 10 or not even halfway through the first quarter. Or I should say 3 minutes into the first quarter. And you're down by 20 halfway through the first quarter. But this is going to be this game could flip multiple different ways. Whoever comes out the gate with the most to prove in terms of their attitude, attention to detail, shot selection, shot execution, I think is going to have the best chance to walk out of there with a W. But I think it's more imperative for the Timberwolves to come out the gate hotter first. Younger team, not as accomplished, not as experienced compared to the players obviously highlighted on the LA Lakers. And if you fall 2-1, and then you essentially your back's up against the wall with one more home game to play with heading into a game 4, and you lose that game, you go into LA game 5 with them having a game with them having an opportunity to have the game 7 in their place. You're playing a very, 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 very dangerous game. So they must get off the deck, wash the bad taste of game 2 out of their mouth, and walk away with a victory here in game 3 here tonight. In terms of hold on, let me double check, make sure. I forgot to mention the Cavs and the Heat. Well, why should I? Series has been a complete bore. Heat aren't on the same level as the Cavs. Donovan Mitchell's tremendous. That series is going to be over come Monday evening, which is when Game 4 will be coming up, which we'll preview, obviously, on Monday's show. In terms of Major League Baseball, some things to discuss. The Philadelphia Phillies got problems. They were completely flat, rudderless, and lifeless against the New York Metropolitans in Citi Field, the same team that kicked their ass and embarrassed them in the NLDS last year. They got that team. I would be very, very concerned. At the time of this recording right now, they already find themselves in a 3-0 hole to the Chicago Cubs heading in the bottom of the 5th inning in Wrigleyville. This seems concerning. They're only a game above 500, 5 games back of the Mets. They've lost 6 out of their last 10 games, currently riding a 4-game losing streak. They can't do anything right. They can't hit. When they do actually make contact and put barrel to ball, it's soft contact. Can't put many balls in play. They strike out a ton. Their hitting with runners in scoring position has been completely abysmal, especially from what was supposed to be the big boppers you find within that lineup. I mean, it's just Nick Castellanos has hit a little bit of a wall. If you take a look at his play now for the season, he's hitting 260 now, 3 home runs, 15 up for the season. He's performed well, but in his last 7 games, he's hitting a .167 with a .250 on base percentage, slugging of .208 with 7 strikeouts, only 3 RBIs, 4 hits, and 24 plate appearances. You do the math. Bryce Harper's done completely nothing. Trey Turner's done completely nothing. Alec Bohm he's an automatic. Why he's still on the team, I have absolutely no idea. He's hitting .228 for the season, 1 home run and 7 RBIs. In his last 7 games, hitting .231. Again, just nothing from him, nothing from Castellanos, nothing from Harper, nothing from Trey Turner. You take a look at Kyle Schwarber, who's hitting .258 on the season. .256. I don't got my glasses on. But in his last 7 games, hitting a .174 with a slugging percentage of .304, 7 strikeouts, only 1 home run, and 23 plate appearances. And you get nothing from the veteran big boppers in this lineup. You hear talk from a lot of Philadelphia Phillies fans that why in the hell they brought Kevin Long back, which obviously is the you can point to as the primary culprit to blame. As for the Phillies, rough offensive performance in the last handful of games, but something's got to give. And Dave Dombrowski decided to run it back and make minimal to next to no changes at all. As a matter of fact, their bullpen got worse because they let one of their better relievers in Jeff Hoffman go. He obviously a member of the Toronto Blue Jays, and their bullpen imploded in the seventh inning against the Mets earlier this week. I believe that was in game number 1, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, they put together a 3-run seventh inning and led themselves, the Mets, to a 5-4 victory, and then their bullpen imploded yet again, surrendering 2 runs there in the bottom of the 10th to allow the Mets to win the game 4-3 and walk away with the 3-game series sweep against their division rivals. And the Mets, as of recently, have beaten the Phillies like a damn drum. And now it doesn't get any easier for them because they go to Chicago, who's played great baseball, especially at home. They were absolutely heroic and clutch in that sensational victory last Friday against the Arizona Diamondbacks. And they walked away going into last weekend. This is the Chicago Cubs now. If I can pull it up on my damn phone, that'd be great. Now, granted, they're only 16-10, but their performance recently has been very, very impressive. They swept the short 2-game series against the LA Dodgers earlier this work week, and they took 2 out of 3 by Arizona. Like I said, highlighted by that zany comeback they had in the bottom half of the 8th inning after they blew the doors open, highlighted by a grand slam that took place in a monstrous bottom half of a 5-run 7th inning. They implode, their bullpen does, surrendering 10 in the 8th, and then they respond right back with 6 in the bottom of the 8th, win that game 13-10. They ride that momentum, beating Arizona by the final score of 6-2 the following day. Take 2 out of 3 from Arizona, and this is, by the way, coming off of a road trip in which they took 2 out of 3 from the Dodgers, took 2 out of 3 from San Diego. They swept the LA Dodgers at home on Tuesday and Wednesday, and now they got the Philadelphia Phillies right where they want them, at least at the time of this recording right now, here on a Friday evening in Wrigleyville. Listen, their bullpen is very problematic, but they have decent starting pitching and a lineup that just does not. They make you earn every last of your remaining 6, 8, 9, or 3 outs in the final closing innings of a game against Chicago. You got to earn every single out against them. They make you earn, they make you take every single one of those 27 outs. This Chicago Cubs team, man, are they a World Series juggernaut right now? A little bit too early to tell. Are they a damn good baseball team that should be taken seriously? That should be the early betting favorite to win the National League Central, having won 7 out of the last 10, 3 games up on the Brewers, and the only team in the NL Central above 500? Abso-freaking-lutely. But getting back to the Philadelphia Phillies, their bullpen stinks. Aaron Nola has not had a good 2025 to start, and they can't hit. I see a lot in the 2025 Baltimore Orioles in the 2025 Philadelphia Phillies, even down to just the flatness and the staleness that you see with the long looks and a lackadaisical just play. I see the similarities, and they're not good characteristics you want to share. Trust me, they're not good characteristics you want to share from the perspective of the Philadelphia Phillies. But like I said, alluding to them in their series against the Mets, they're clicking on all cylinders. They're 18-7. They're the only team in all of baseball with 18 wins. They take 2 out of 3 from the Nationals. You would figure today and tomorrow they'd be the first team in baseball to reach 20. They already have a 720 winning percentage and won 8 out of the last 10. Currently riding a 7-game winning streak. I mean, they can't even lose games by pure happenstance, by accident. I mean, Edwin Diaz comes out of the game with a rocky, top of the 10th inning on Wednesday, and they still find a way to, in the bottom half, to win that game. Their bullpen's been great. Their starting pitching's been great. Their lineup production and this is without solo hitting, by the way, has been sensational. Lindor has been fabulous. Pete Alonso's hitting a damn cover off the ball. He's been sensational the first month of the year. The New York Mets are a damn juggernaut. Now, I got the Washington Nationals for 4 this weekend, and then they turn around and they come back home to play the Arizona Diamondbacks, and they hit the road to play the Cardinals and the Diamondbacks again. And then they got some reprieves with the Nationals and the Cardinals mixed in, but doesn't get any easier with the Diamondbacks twice, the Cubs at home, and then the weekend after Mother's Day in mid-May in about 3 weeks time, they got the New York Yankees for 3, then the Red Sox for 3, then they come back home and they get the Dodgers for 3, and then they get a nice reprieve to close out the month of May heading into June with the White Sox and the Colorado Rockies respectively. And then they hit the road for West Coast road trip to play the Dodgers for 4, and then it's right back to small potatoes with the Colorado Rockies and at home against the Washington Nationals in early to mid-June along the baseball calendar. And my Orioles, listen, what do you want me to say? I mean, I got Brandon Hyde talking about let me go ahead and read you the quote. I couldn't believe this was a quote that I saw that was real and was actually spoken by an actual functioning human being. You guys are going to flip when I read you this quote. This was after the Orioles' pathetic loss on Wednesday night, in which they could not hit their way out of a paper bag against the Washington Nationals the other night, in a game in which the game was tied, and then Brandon Hyde, Mr. Boy Genius, brings in Gregory Soto instead of Yennier Cano, who essentially hadn't pitched all week, surrendered the base runner that scored on a sacrifice fly to be the go-ahead run. Let me read you this quote from Brandon Hyde after the game on Wednesday night. This was after their 4-3 loss against the Nationals, okay? Let me read it to you. Quote, "I'm really happy with how we played. We play baseball like that, we're going to win a lot of games." Let me read it to you one more time. And by the way, in case you think I'm bull jiving, this is the quote. And you can find the video on YouTube, Masson Orioles, the post-game presser from Wednesday night's loss. "I'm really happy with how we played. We play baseball like that, we're going to win a lot of games." What in the hell are you talking about? The Orioles went 1 for 12 hitting with runners in scoring position that night and left 12 men on base. And he turns around and says, "I'm really happy with how we play. We play baseball like that, we're going to win a lot of games."
How long does this manager get up after games and utter these mindless, ridiculous comments and not hold his players accountable?
Like, honestly, how long is David Rubenstein and Cal Ripken Jr. going to give this functioning moron when he goes up willingly, knowledgeably, behind the microphone, in front of a camera, and spew such just erroneous, mind-numbing, pure, insane, ridiculous, asinine garbage after pathetic performances like I saw on West? How long does he have to get away with this nonsense? He actually stood up while the team just lost their 3rd game in a row and had the temerity, the audacity, the chutzpah, the balls, and the gall to say that shit with a straight face.
Brandon Hyde is shit.
Say it again. Damn it, he didn't hear you.
Brandon Hardy, shit.
You can't make this shit up. You can't make this shit up.
Couldn't make it up if you an Oscar award-winning screenwriter couldn't make this goofy shit up. Couldn't make it up. Really happy with how we played. If that isn't a manager with a losing mindset that either condones or coaches a losing culture and atmosphere within a given life, if that isn't it, I don't know what the hell is. I don't know what else is. If that isn't literally a loser with a losing mentality, creating or enabling a losing culture and a losing mindset, if that isn't it, I don't know what the fuck is. I don't know what the fuck it is if it isn't this. Oh, God. Thought we played extremely hard. Everybody was into it. Like it's a fucking 12U Little League game, 9:30 in the morning on Memorial Day weekend. I thought we played extremely hard. Everybody was into it. Nobody was satisfied with how we're playing. We just fell a little short, but I'm really happy. He actually said this shit with a straight face, ladies and gentlemen. We're really happy with how we played tonight. Again, they went 1 for 12 with runners in scoring position and left a dozen men on base. And this idiot, this moron, this stooge, this disaster, this loser joke of a manager literally said with a straight face, I don't give a damn if they won last night 2-1. Who cares? He said with a straight face, he legit was happy with the fact the team put together a performance in which they left 12 motherfuckers on base. In a game that they lost. Not won, lost. Again.
You can't make this shit up. You can't make this shit up.
Cannot make it up if you tried. Cade Povich actually pitched worth a damn yesterday. Didn't walk the ballpark, unlike last Friday night against the Reds. Kept the ball in the ballpark, unlike last Friday night against the Reds. 6 2/3, 1 hit, four hits, 1 run. Baseball, 5 strikeouts, 87 pitches. I would have left him in, made him, face one more batter just to save the bullpen, especially now. Word just came down in Detroit. Tonight's game's going to be rained out, and you got a doubleheader with Charlie Morton pitching tomorrow. You might want to wish you didn't pitch Soto a second consecutive night and maybe not waste. Here's the thing I don't get. He loves to run to his bullpen, yet he contradicts himself by interchange. Like he is like that magician that pulls that long ass scarf where it just keeps pulling and pulling and pulling and pulling and pulling, thinking that the string of insanity doesn't have an end point. Well, unlike with a magic show, it does have an end point. He brings in Yennier Cano to face one batter when there's a inherited runner on first base thanks to an inexcusable Gunnar Henderson error, by the way. But there's a runner on base, and I've been telling you guys, if you watch Yennier Cano pitch, if you watch the Orioles, you know that that his strong suit is not coming in the middle of an inning with runners on. He's better to start the inning working with a clean slate, nobody on base. That's when Yennier Cano is at his best. Now, it worked out, but again, works out, throws one pitch, that's in. Let me bring in Gregory Soto, the reliever that cost us the game the night before. It's like, does this manager not know the definition of insanity? Doing the same dumbass thing over and over again, expecting different results? It's just, Povich pitched well. Offense, still nothing. Last night, I make the sojourn down to D.C. First time ever seeing an Orioles road game. First time ever going to Nationals Park, and I got to sit through the traffic and all the logistical chaos to get down to that stadium. And I got to see on my car ride down there, I see the lineup card, and I got to look at Jorge Mateo, who can't hit the weight of a fucking 12-year-old little leaguer. 053 with an OPS of 150. I mean, what the hell are we doing with him still getting at bats while Jackson Holiday just I understand he's not Cal Ripken Jr., but damn it, he's 21 years of age, his first full season of Major League, second year collectively. It's like, do you expect the guy to just get better magically without playing? It's like, what the hell? What the hell? And by the way, until the Orioles held their first lead, which ended a 31-inning streak of them not having it, guess how much the Orioles were outscored by? 36-5. That's not a typo. But again, I go all the way down to D.C., and I got to see Jorge Mateo at second base. I got to see Jorge Mateo at second base while the team is in the midst of a 3-game losing streak with their season going to hell in a handbasket. And then Brandon Hyde's explanation is essentially that of, again, Mr. Care Bears, all for one, one for all. Let's all hold hands, sing "We Are the World, We Are the Children." You know, Mr. Participation Trophy with this soft-ass bullshit, fugazi, infantile participation trophy, candy-ass type of pathetic beta male mindset. Well, Jorge Mateo deserves a chance, deserves an opportunity just for the hell of it, because he deserves opportunity just to not rot on the bench, which is exactly where his feeble ass belongs, considering he can't even hit $175. I'll find that quote too before I end this show. Where is it? Let me find it. So he's on a roll with these. Jorge hasn't played in a while, and I just don't want guys just to feel stale on the bench. And you guys wonder why. You guys wonder why I get on here and I lose my shit damn near twice a week. Because what type of ass backward shit is this? The guy is hitting 053 on the season and a $158 OPS, and I'm supposed to give a shit about his feeble, pathetic, useless ass getting stale on the bench? The bench is where his ass belongs. He shouldn't even be on this damn roster. He's literally, by definition, by the eye test, by the stats, a useless baseball player. Worthless, unproductive, feeble. I'm supposed to give a shit about him getting stale? Tough. If he could hit, catch, and throw worth a fuck, he'd get more playing time. But he shouldn't over your number one overall pick, who you guys have told me and have advertised me are supposed to be the second coming of freaking Brian Robertson, Cal Ripken Jr. How the hell is he supposed to get any continuity with his play if he doesn't see the field? And the guy that he's getting benched for is significantly worse than him. I can't go one show without crashing out over this stupid-ass baseball team. Not one freaking show. Not one. This is my listen. Brandon Hyde doesn't know his ass from his elbow, but damn it, Mike Elias, if you were smart enough, proactive enough, assertive enough, and serious enough to DFA this worthless bum, you know what? He wouldn't be a tool in Brandon Hyde's tool shed to use. Brandon Hyde is an idiot for continuing to play him. But you know how you stop this, Elias? You know how you stop it? By getting rid of his ass. If you get rid of his ass, if you DFA his ass or trade him for a bag of cheese doodles, I wouldn't have to watch his useless ass play 3-4 times a week. You wouldn't give Hyde an option to play him if you ran his ass out of town, which you should have did 2 fucking years ago. But he's sitting up at the damn winter meetings in Nashville, wherever the hell they were last winter, on sitting up on MLB Network, sitting up here talking about, why did you move the wall back? He's sitting up here, Mr. Comedian.
I got beans, greens, potatoes, tomatoes, lamb, rams, hogs, dogs, chicken, turkeys, rabbits. You name it!
Does you get Corbin Burns back, Mike? Did you get him back? Who? What? Charlie Morton?
I got beans, greens, potatoes, tomatoes, lamb, rams, hogs, dogs, chicken, turkeys, rabbits. You name it!
You guys know my socials at the J Shield. They're in the description. I talked to you Monday. This team makes me sick.